Hey friends. So this is just a quick intro video to the paper on classical Chinese conceptions of free will, or rather, Chinese perspectives on free will. That's the name of the paper. So two disclaimers. The first one, I do not speak or read Chinese or classical Chinese. So I apologize in advance for mispronunciations. Second, the ways in which we find questions of responsibility in the Confucian tradition is different from ways in which we think about responsibility and free will in the Western tradition. And I think one way in which we might begin describing these differences, it's a bit anachronistic, but I think it's useful nonetheless. One way of describing these differences is in terms of the cultural dispositions of members of the different societies. So current cultural psychologists and anthropologists distinguish between individualist and collectivist cultures. North America, well, primarily Canada and the US, and to a lesser extent Mexico, actually to a much lesser extent Mexico, are individualistic cultures. What that means is that we value the good of the individual ahead of the good of the group. So we prioritize individual goals and sort of put on the back burner group goals. Group goals are subordinated to individual goals. In collectivist cultures, like we find in China, South Korea, Japan, the good of the group is primary, and the individual goals, right, the good of the individual, is secondary. So in other words, the relationship between goals for the individual and the group are reversed relative to individualistic cultures. And so I think this is useful to keep in mind when we're reading the text. So for example, we'll find in a few places, either stated specifically or strongly hinted towards, that part of our goal as humans in the Confucian tradition is to find the right spot for us in society, right? Find the right spot for us in our culture, right? In our group. And that's what it means to live a good life. So in other words, we identify where we belong in the group, and that's what'll make us happy, right? That's what'll lead us to living flourishing lives. Right, well, that's it. And in the next few videos, we'll go through some of the main concepts.